Hey guys, my name is Em and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Today's video is going to be a 24-hour readathon vlog and I'm so excited. It's been like a month since I've done my last readathon and it's definitely time to do another one, and I'm going to be doing the readathon with my bestie Lucy from Library of Lucy. I don't think I'm going to do the timer method for this one. I think I'm just going to do like a good old-fashioned read for 24 hours straight. I may potentially like add on a few hours to Sunday depending on like how long I sleep, because I do like adding on like my sleeping hours because I love sleep too much to give it up for a readathon. So I may potentially do that, but other than that it will be just reading for 24 hours straight. I have 3 books on this TBR that I'm going to show you right now, but it could potentially change. I'm very much so in a mood reading mood, and also these are all very thick books, so I really don't know if I'm going to get through all of them or any of them. We'll see. But the first one up on this TBR is Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. This is the sequel to One Dark Window and it is also my current read. This book is really good. It is very fast paced. The only thing is it is a bit scary and spooky, and I struggle to read this in like the evening time because I do get scared and I do end up dreaming about it, and that's just not what we want. But I do also really want to read this and I would highly recommend this series. I'm currently on chapter 9, which is page 60. Maybe I will potentially read another little bit this evening before the readathon begins, but I am already a little bit of the way into this, so I think that this will be my first read of the readathon. Then next up I have Powerless by Elsie Silver. This is book 3 in the Chestnut Springs series. I am very much so in my small town cowboy romance era. Like, I just honestly cannot get enough of cowboy romances, and I'm very excited to read the rest of the Chestnut Springs books. Again, this is a very thick book, so it is quite ambitious for a readathon, but they are quite fast reads because honestly you pick them up and you do not want to put them down until you finish them. So yeah, this is book 2 on the TBR. And then finally on the TBR we have Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Honestly, this is going to be like a 50-50 of if I love this book or if I hate this book. I have no idea what to expect. I'm so serious, but I'm excited to read it and give my own opinion. But also I'm going to be buddy reading this with Lucy, which is so exciting. I love when we do a readathon together and we buddy read something. Like, that's just the best vibe. So yeah, this is the 3rd book on this TBR. I potentially may read some shorter Kindle Unlimited books. I'm currently in the middle of the Improbable Meet Cute series on Kindle Unlimited, which is a 6-book series of like short stories about like meet cutes, basically, all by different authors. So those are my potential list of books that I will read during this readathon. This 24-hour readathon is actually not beginning until tomorrow, but we are going to be starting at 7 o'clock in the morning, so I felt like it was a good idea to do the intro now because I'm just planning on like reading in bed at 7 AM, so I didn't want to get up and do a whole intro. So yeah, I'm gonna go and I will come back to you when the readathon begins. I'm so excited to spend the next 24 hours reading with you guys. Good morning besties, the readathon has now officially begun. We did start a little bit later than we had intended because neither of us wanted to start at 7 o'clock this morning, so we ended up starting at 10:30, but that's honestly fine. But I want to give you my first reading update because I've actually already finished a book. I needed a bit of reading motivation this morning because I'm not like in the biggest reading mood, but I needed like that motivation of like finishing a book really quickly to kind of like motivate me to keep going in this readathon. So I ended up picking up the 4th book in the Improbable Meet Cute series, which is called Drop, Cover and Hold On by Jasmine Gilroy. All the books in the series are short stories, so I knew that I'd be able to read it like really quickly, and I definitely did do that. It was very fun. I'm not going to tell you anything about this book because I feel like it is so short that like you shouldn't really know anything going in, but I really liked it. I gave it a 4 stars. I think literally all of the books in this series so far have been 4 stars, which is really good for like a novella like short story series, because sometimes I feel like they cannot be as good because you don't like have like as much time with the characters or anything. But I really like this series and I would highly recommend. And I only have 2 books left in this series. I may potentially get to them throughout this readathon, or I may not, I'm not really sure. So yeah, that is my first book of the readathon done, and my page count is 40 pages I think. And now it's time to move on to my next book. I think I'm going to just continue with Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig and try to get another little bit into this, but I'm kind of in like a romance mood. I don't really want to read a fantasy right now, so I think I might like read like another little bit of this if I can like get up to like part 2, which is another like 20 pages maybe, and then I might see about switching to a romance and then kind of like alternate the two. I'm making a reading update as we speak.
Nice.
Yeah, I might like read another little bit of this and then switch to a romance, because I feel like when you're in, like, I don't want to say I'm in a reading slump, but like I'm definitely not in like a reading mood, and I feel like you need to kind of follow with the mood that you're feeling. So like if I'm feeling like reading a romance book, I should read a romance book, because reading something that I don't want to read is not gonna help me achieve this readathon, you know what I mean? But also I think I've decided that for every book I finish during this readathon, I'm gonna buy a book once this readathon's over, and I feel like that could be like a fun little incentive to actually read. So stay tuned for the end of this video, because I will be putting in that book shopping section. But yeah, I think I'm gonna read to part 2 of this and then switch to a romance book. I have not decided what romance book I'm gonna pick up. I kind of want to pick one that like I can read physically but also read on Kindle, because I feel like I just read so much quicker on Kindle. If I could find one that like I have physically but is also on Kindle Unlimited, that would be perfect. But yeah, I'll come back to you when I have my next reading update. Okay, it's currently 12 o'clock and I have gotten up to chapter 20, which is page 136. So I did read a little bit more than I expected to. I did not stop at part 2 because I'm kind of into it now. I don't know, there's something about like this writing style that I'm finding really hard to like focus on, and like something about this book that I'm just finding it really hard to like concentrate, even though like I'm so interested and the characters are so good and the world is so good and the plot is so interesting and like I want to know how this ends, but I'm really struggling to actually follow the like writing style. I don't know why, and I think maybe it could be just to do with like my like mini reading slump or something like that. I'm not really sure. Also the fact that I do have a very bad headache at the moment, and like I have such bad pain like behind my eyes because I'm just recovering from a flu, and like I still kind of have like a bit of a sinus infection, which is just wonderful. So I feel like the like lyrically written book and sinus infection combo is just not matching well together. But that being said, I am still really liking it, and I may potentially even like switch to like reading on my Kindle or something, because that might make me read it a little bit faster. But right now it is currently 12 o'clock and I am going to go make some breakfast. Arguably, would you call it breakfast? I would call it brunch maybe, but I'm gonna go make something for me and my mom, and then I will get back into reading. I may potentially even read while it cooks, but am I that dedicated? I don't know. I'm still on FaceTime with Lucy, even though neither of us have our cameras on. And yeah, that is my update for right now. Okay besties, I'm in the car right now and it's kind of dark because I'm in an underground car park, and it's also really awkward to film because I feel like people are like watching that I have my camera out. But I went into H&M because I needed to buy black t-shirts for work because I only have like long sleeve tops and it's kind of getting too warm to wear long sleeve tops to work. So I bought some black t-shirts, but I also bought some jewelry because I saw it and I was like, okay, I need some new rings. So jewelry haul. First of all, I got this one that's like a snake because it just reminded me of Reputation, and I feel like maybe by buying this ring I'll manifest Rep TV. So that was my first one. Then I decided to get like this little pack of rings. Oh, someone is like actively looking into my car right now. Oh dear. This pack of rings because I thought they were cute and I like that one especially. And then I got some earrings as well. They're like these big hoops and then these little hoops and they slay. So yeah, that is my little haul. I also went into the works and I bought a book because who am I to not buy a book when I go into the work? I bought The Worst Best Man by Lucy Score. This one looks so good because I was looking for like a romance to add to my TBR, so that slays. I did bring my book with me, Two Twisted Crowns. It's kind of too dark in here to read it, but I'm gonna put on my new jewelry and listen to some Taylor Swift, and then I will read when I get home. It is now significantly later in the evening. It is 2 minutes to 8 p.m. I feel like I've kind of abandoned you for the past couple of hours, and I feel like I abandoned this readathon for the past couple of hours because I have literally barely read since I spoke to you last. Actually, I can't remember what update I gave you when I spoke to you last. Maybe I have read more, but I took a good few hours break unintentionally, but it just, that's the way of readathons sometimes. I'm now over the halfway point. I am on page 245, chapter 32. We're really getting into the thick of the plot right now, and we're like on like this kind of, I don't want to say like adventure quest, I feel like that's a bit drastic. Like there's action happening and like they're on like this like journey thing that I'm not going to say why because that would be a spoiler, but if you know, you know. I feel like this last like section is going to be kind of intense because this is like the wrap up of this fantasy duology, and I feel like we're going to get a lot of like answers and a lot of plot and a lot of character development and a lot of things revealed. I'm currently on FaceTime with Lucy. She has pretty much the same amount left in her book. She's reading Dance with the Fae Prince, I think it's called. It's the sequel to the Elf King one. I think that's what it's called. And we're both aiming to finish our books this evening. It's only 8 p.m. I feel like I could do it. My next like stopping point to give myself like a little break is going to be to part 3 because I feel like that's less daunting than like the whole book. So I'm going to try to get to part 3, then take like a little break, watch a booktube video or something, and then continue on. I did make myself an iced coffee earlier. It is gone now, but I did make an iced coffee, and that was my first iced coffee of like the season because I don't know why, like I just never make iced coffees in like the winter time, but I am so desperately in need of spring and summer and like warm weather that I'm trying to manifest that warm weather by making iced coffees. But yeah, that's my update for right now. What I love about this book as well is like we have like 2 POV, well we have 3 POVs, but like we have like two of the POVs are in different places. So we have like 2, like, why is my brain not working and like coming up with words right now, but like they're in different places, so we're getting like 2 like storylines basically, and it's very exciting, very fun, thoroughly enjoying it. Good morning besties. It is now Sunday morning and I finished my book last night. I finished Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. I was so tired, but I was so determined to finish this book. I think I had like 30 pages left and my eyes were like starting to drift closed, and I had to like drink some really cold water, get up, stand, move around a little bit, and then sit down and finish the rest of this book because I was so determined to finish it, and I'm so glad that I did. I actually ended up loving this book. It was definitely really amazing. I think it was a lot better than the first book, and I did really like the first book, but I do think that this one was significantly better. I rated it 4 stars on Goodreads. It's potentially a 4.5, and I think that this book could have been a 5-star had there been just a little bit more. And let me explain, because in the first book we follow Elspeth and Raven, and like they're our main characters, they are our couple basically. That's not a spoiler, that's just common knowledge. In this book we have more POVs, and I feel like in some weird way this book had nothing to do with Elspeth and Raven. Like I know that they were there, but they were more side characters than main characters, I'm not gonna lie, and there was another romance at the forefront of this book, and I just feel like that was really strange. I'm not saying that I didn't like it, because I loved the 2 characters that were in this romance, and I think that they are just so cute and I loved them together and I was so rooting for them. However, I would have rathered this be Elspeth and Raven's second book, because their story did not end in the first book. Like their story was very much so still developing. So I would have rathered this be more of their book than like a complete new romance. And then I was kind of thinking like, oh, this romance between these new characters is not going to be like actually developed enough. Like I'm not going to believe them by the end. And that actually wasn't the case. Like I don't know how she did it, but I actually did love them at the end, and their romance was so cute, and like I do think there was enough time for their romance in this book, and it was great. Like there was no like 3rd act breakup between them or anything, because there was other stuff going on in the book. But that being said, I feel a severe lack of closure about Elspeth and Raven's story. Don't get me wrong, like it doesn't like completely forget about them or like leave it on a cliffhanger or anything, nothing like that, but like we didn't get enough of them together. Like we didn't really see them interact at all until like the epilogue, and I kind of hate that. Like I kind of hate that because I've been following them from the first book, and obviously I wanted to see them interact. Like I loved them together in the first book. I found it really strange. I've never really read a series where like the second book follows a completely new romance without first finishing the romance from the first book. Like that was kind of rogue. I don't know why. And like I'm trying to like think back of the first book to see like was there kind of like a beginning of this romance in that book, but there wasn't. Like in my opinion anyways, it's like this literally came out of nowhere, and I'm glad that it did because as I said, I do love these characters and I love them together, and I actually low-key preferred their romance, but like that's not the point. The point is like I did not get enough interaction between Elspeth and Raven, and I feel like I could have done with not an extra 100 pages on this book because it was already long enough, but I feel like I could nearly have done with a third book. And then on the other hand, I'm like, no, it did wrap up really well. She literally bit a hole in my curtain because she wanted me to open the window so that she can sit on the inside of the window and look out. Like she just wanted some fresh air. Honestly, I respect. Like, go girl. Oh. Okay, so now she doesn't even want the window. Anyways, with all of that being said, I actually really did like the way that this book wrapped up. I actually was kind of like low-key emotional at the end, which I did not expect in the slightest, because this is more of like a scary fantasy, and I was scared too, don't get me wrong, but like this was more of like a dark twisted fantasy than like an emotional fantasy. But I was actually really emotional at the ending and like at the kind of thing that happened at the end, which is good because it means that I was really connected to the characters and the author did a really good job. So yeah, that is my thoughts on this book. Really did like how it wrapped up. I actually didn't predict anything that was going to happen in this book, I'm not gonna lie, which in hindsight probably is a me problem because like it was probably predictable, but I just didn't predict it. I was just living, laughing, loving reading what I was given, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So yeah, I ended up giving it 4-star. If Elspeth and Raven had have been a little bit more at the forefront of this book, it would have been a 5. But don't let that like deter you from picking up this book, because I do think that the second one was better than the first one, and I did still really love the first one. So like I highly recommend this duology, and I'm really happy that I read it like quite close together and like I actually finished the duology, because I always tend to like start series and read like the first one and never continue, and then I come back to it and I don't remember what's happened. So I'm really glad that I read this like pretty much back to back, and now I have this duology finished and I do really recommend it. Like I think it was really, really good. But now we are stuck with the decision of what book to pick up next, and I honestly have no idea. I don't know if I'm in the mood for another fantasy, I don't know if I'm in the mood for a romance, I don't know if I'm in the mood for like a mystery thriller. I haven't a clue. I do not know what book I want to read. So I think what I'm going to do, because it is currently just after 11 in the morning, I'm going to go make myself a coffee and breakfast, and also drink some water of course, and then I think I'm going to read like the next novella in the Meet Cute series, because I feel like that's a nice like palette cleanser. It might like kind of refresh me and kind of motivate me to know what book I do want to pick up next, because I have no idea. And then I will pick up another book, because I don't honestly think I will be able to read a full other book during this readathon. And I'm extending this readathon, by the way. It should have been over at 10:30, but I'm extending the readathon by a couple of hours, probably until like this afternoon, honestly, because I did take a good few breaks and I did sleep and stuff like that. So I'm just extending it for today basically. But yeah, I'm gonna read that Meet Cute book, and then I will pick another book that I want to read for the rest of the day. But yeah, book 2 of the readathon done, and yesterday I ended up reading in total 380 pages, because I read 340 pages of this and then I read 40 pages of the Meet Cute book. So I read 380 pages. I feel like that's really good for one day of reading, especially when I was like not in a reading mood. But yeah, that's all I have to say for right now, guys. I will come back to you when I have another reading update. So it's now later in the day. It is currently 2:15 and I finished another book. I did read book 5 in the Improbable Meet Cute series, which was called With Any Luck by Ashley Poston. And let me just say, this book was not good. I didn't enjoy, which is very shocking because this is book 5 in the series, as I said, and I've actually loved all of the previous 4. So I was not expecting to dislike this one, but I ended up giving it 2 stars. it was not the vibe. It was not amazing. I think it was just a little bit silly billy, and I didn't really like the writing style. Now, I've not actually read anything by Ashley Poston previously, which it makes me a little bit nervous now to read some of her books because they are on my TBR. Now, maybe this is just because it's like a novella, short story, whatever. I'm sure her other books are going to be so slay, but I did not like this one at all. Like, it was not good. Again, I'm not going to really say what it's about because they're so short. I feel like you shouldn't know anything going in, but it was just silly. I just didn't really like it. I didn't like the characters. I thought it was icky as well. Like when they like got together, she was like blackout drunk and she didn't remember it the next day until he told her, and I feel like that's just a red flag. Like, I just don't like that. I'm like, why did you guys sleep together if she was blackout drunk? Like, that's not okay. I feel like maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but that was just like alarm bells in my head. I was like, no, I don't like that at all. So yeah, I ended up giving it 2 stars. I will read the 6th one at some stage. Maybe not today, maybe today, we don't know. But I do want to read the 6th one because I want to finish this series. And this series has been a godsend for my Goodreads goal, honestly. Like, I've literally read 9 books this month so far. But now I'm gonna pick up another book. I currently have like an hour before my cousin gets here. She's coming to spend the evening with me, and she's coming at like 3:30, I think. So I think I'm just gonna relax and read for the next hour. But now I have to decide on what book I want to read next, and I always find picking my next read so difficult because I'm such a mood reader, and sometimes like there's just like no books that you're looking at on your shelf that are like hitting the exact like note of what you want to read, because like you just want to read like a very specific book but you don't really know what that is. I've narrowed my decision down to 2 books. One's a fantasy, one's a romance, so I may potentially honestly just read both of them. But the first one is A Tempest of Tea. I'm so excited to read this one. I've honestly been waiting for this book to release since I found out about it. Like, it sounds so good, and I also want to annotate this book. However, I did find out that I think that this is a Fairy Loot book for this month, which is kind of frustrating because I hate when the Fairy Loot book is a book that I already own because it just seems like a bit of a waste. But I think like I'll still start reading this and potentially start annotating it as well. I'm not going to write in it or highlight in it just in case, but I am going to tab it because I'm in the mood to annotate a book. And then if it is the Fairy Loot book, I may potentially unhaul this copy or like finish it and give it to like one of my friends. I don't know. I don't feel the need to collect multiple editions of books anymore unless it's like a very special book. I like special editions, but I don't need like 2 editions of the book. Like, if I have a special edition of the book, that's the edition of the book that I have, unless it's like an all-time favorite. Like, I don't have more than 1 edition of Binding 13, but if they like came out with other editions, I would potentially buy them. I may unhaul this copy if it is a Fairy Loot book, or I may not. It could be a favorite and I might want to keep both. I don't know. But I also will be doing a pretty big like book unhaul and like book reorganization very soon because I'm gonna buy a new bookshelf soon. So I was thinking about doing like a whole like bookshelf video, like building my bookshelf, organizing my bookshelf, and then I'm gonna unhaul some books as well because there's some books on my shelves I may have bought like a couple of years ago and I've either read them and didn't like them, or like they don't really reflect my reading taste anymore, so I may like get rid of some. I don't know if I'm going to do 2 separate videos for that. Like, I may do like a book unhaul video and then I may do like a bookshelf reorganization video, or I might put them into the one. I don't know. Let me know which you would prefer, and also let me know if you do want that bookshelf video, because if you guys don't, then I won't bother. But like, I feel like that's something that I should vlog and I want to vlog. But yeah, that should be soon. I don't really know when because I do have a lot on over the next couple of weeks, but I do potentially want to do that quite soon because my bookshelves are just not organized at the minute and I can't organize them because there's no space for books to go, basically. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But anyways, the second book that I have chosen is Powerless by Elsie Silver. This is book 4 in the Chestnut Springs series. That's actually a lie. It is book 3. This is book 3 in the Chestnut Springs series. This follows Jasper and Sloane, and as well as being like a small town like cowboy romance, this is also a hockey romance, and she's also a ballet dancer, so we've got like that dynamic as well, which is just so slay. I also kind of want to annotate this, so I've gotten like these tabs. I'm trying out like a new method of annotation where I just like match the color of the tabs to the color of the book, because I've seen people on TikTok do that and it looks so aesthetic. So I think I might honestly do that. Also, if you want to see an annotations video or like an annotate with me video, please do let me know and I would love to do that. But I've been annotating for years and I've always done like the each color tab has a specific meaning, or like each color tab is for a specific thing. Very kind of like, you know, each color has a meaning and it is for like a specific emotion. But then like I never like look back on them and I never kind of like differentiate between the tabs when I look back, you know what I mean? Like I usually only look back for like good quotes or like scenes that I particularly loved. I don't really look back for like other things, so I feel like this new method of annotations could be more fun, and also it's just like less thought because you're literally just picking like a tab and putting it in the book. But that means that I probably do need to buy more tabs, because like if I'm just using like the one color, I'm gonna run out like halfway through the book, so I do need to order some tabs as well. Anyways, that is my update for right now. These are my 2 current reads. But yeah, book 3 of the readathon is complete. Honestly, kind of slaying this readathon, guys. Having a very fun time, and it's quite a chill readathon. Like sometimes I do readathons that are like very intense, and I love those too. But honestly, you can't really beat like a wholesome weekend of just like chilling and reading and finishing books. Like it's the best vibe. But yeah, book 3 finished of this readathon. Also, I will be doing a book shopping portion at the end of this video, because as I said, I want to buy a book for every book that I finished in this video. I've so far finished 3, so I will be hopefully buying 3 books at the end of this video as well. But yeah, I'm gonna just try a chapter of both of these, see which I kind of want to stick with first, and then I will come back to you with more updates. Hi besties. Okay, it is now the next day, and I'm going to give you my final reading update and then end out this vlog, and I'm also going to tell you the 3 books that I'm going to be buying in this video. So in this readathon, I ended up reading 3 books, which I'm really happy with. 2 of them were novellas, or like shorter books, but that still counts, and that was still reading, and I'm really happy that I did manage to finish those 3 books. So I started the readathon by reading Drop, Cover and Hold On by Jasmine Gilroy. I ended up giving this book a 4 stars. I really liked it. I think it was fun. This series I would highly recommend. I think it's such a fun series, and it doesn't require much brain power. It's literally just fun vibes, a good time basically, and they're very short, they're easy to read, and it does also boost that Goodreads goal just a little bit while also being enjoyable, because I don't want to like just read books for the sake of my Goodreads goal that I'm not liking. But with this series, I really did like it. So I started the readathon with that one. Then I went on to read Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. I was already 90 pages into this book, but I did read the majority of this. I read 340 pages, which I would say is honestly so much to read of a fantasy book in one day, especially because I had not really been in the reading mood. I'd not really been in that kind of like motivational let's read a whole book mood. So the fact that I still managed to read like literally this entire thing in one day is kind of iconic. I ended up giving this book a 4.5 stars. Would highly recommend this duology. Had so much fun reading it. A lot happened in it. It's unlike fantasy books that I've ever read before, because it's very dark, it's very twisted, it's kind of scary, but also like the men in this book would literally do anything for their women. I kind of low-key love that. Like this is the standard, honestly. And then the 3rd and final book that I read was With Any Luck by Ashley Poston. This is book 5 in the Improbable Meet Cute series, and this was actually the first one that I did not enjoy out of that series. I ended up giving it 2 stars. Just not great. I think because the other 4 had been so good, I kind of knew what to compare it to, and it just was not the same. It was not as good at all. That being said, it was a short book, and it was my 3rd and final book that I finished during this readathon. And then yesterday I did end up picking up A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faizal, and I made it 22 pages into this book. Already I'm really loving it. I don't really know if this is like a fantasy book yet. I think it is, but kind of like an urban fantasy, or like a kind of on the same lines as Divine Rivals. Not similar in like plot wise, but like it is a fantasy world, but like it's not like super high fantasy kind of vibe. That's what I'm getting from the first 22 pages anyways, and I actually kind of predict that this may be a 5 star. I'm not gonna lie, like I'm really genuinely loving it so far. But yeah, I read 22 pages of this, and I'm going to continue reading this week, so you will see that in my next vlog. But yeah, they are the 3 books that I managed to read during this vlog. I'm actually really happy with that, and in total I read 444 pages. And then at the beginning of this video I did say that I would buy a book for every book that I finished during this readathon, and I am going to stick to that. I have 12 books in my basket, so I need to like pick 3 out of that I kind of wanted to buy and read immediately. I think the ones that I'm going to go with is Good Material by Dolly Alderton, In Memoriam by Alice Wynne, because I've seen amazing things about that book recently. I'm going to go with Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. I think those are the 3 books that I'm going to buy. So I'm going to buy those books right now, and you'll probably see me haul them in my next vlog. But yeah, that is it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you did watch to the end, comment the trees emoji in commemoration for this book. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, besties. Stay amazing, stay kind, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!